Hi, this is Eggbeast, and I'm going to be checking some memory points on a recently imported model. We've imported it, we've imported it, and then basically we want to just check that the memory LOD we're using from our M16 or our other weapon is actually still correct. So I've added some axes on this today. That is a new butt slide axis which allows the butt to move in and out. I've added in a dust cover axis which allows the dust cover to close when we sling the weapon on our shoulders. We've got a barrel axis. Now the barrel axis, I'm going to go Control A and Control H to hide everything. And I'm going to look at my barrel axis, Control Shift H, so it's unhidden. There we go. And it's 2 points. And when I do view left, what I want to check is, now they're not lined up. Now this is basically where the bullets move in Arma. So the bullet will move from basically Koneklavne, which is Czech for the muzzle effectively, to the Ustiklavne, which is the end. So in this case, Ustiklavne is lower, which means our bullet is actually going to fire down towards the ground. So let's just look at that in front view, and you can see, yeah, that one is lower than this one. Hard to tell in that view, but when you view in this view, in left view, you can see. So we want to know exactly where we're going. So let's just copy the muzzle flash for a second, because we already set that up a moment ago. Paste it in. So that's where it should be. So this one, lock the y-axis, take it down, press star to center it, zoom right in, take it down some more. Okay, that's about right. Now we take the other one and press star again to center it. And you've got to be careful because sometimes they disappear when you go into too much of a zoom, and you have to Control Z. Right, now we're going to lock the x-axis. And I'm going to press star again and zoom in. I mean, when you get to this level, if you start moving it, see, it's gone. Control Z brings it back. Zoom out a bit. Try and move it. No, it's gone because we're way too far zoomed in. So you just have to kind of accept a little bit of error in there. But that's actually going to be fine because most weapons have a little bit of that going on. So I'm going to just delete the proxy that I just added. And I'm also going to do right click and delete empty. That gets rid of Zasley, which was basically the muzzle flash. And also from my previous video, I forgot to say Zasley got imported by mistake. Delete empty gets rid of it. Geometry, we don't want a muzzle flash in there. Delete empty, it's gone. So that's so those 2 points are now completely lined up. Why did we do that? Well, view front. Basically, the muzzle flash is going to rotate around that axis. So if they were slightly out, you'd have a wonky looking muzzle flash going up and down. So they needed to be completely lined up down the center of the barrel, and that obviously affects the accuracy of your weapon as well. So it's really important that barrel axis is completely lined up in the horizontal plane, and that they're like literally one in front of the other. Okay, then next we're going to check bipod. Bipod is a single point, and it is literally under the forestock, somewhere where you're going to rest your weapon. That's fine. Then we're going to look at bolt axis. Okay, so that's 2 points here for the bolt to move backwards and forwards. I think that's fine because I checked it earlier. Bolt catch axis. Well, let's just check the bolt catch. Yep, it's going to move back and forward. It's in the right place. Bullet cover axis. Well, let's go bullet cover axis. That should be dust cover axis. That's weird. View left. And it's not in the right place. Okay, that's weird. View front. Where is my dust cover axis? Axis dust cover. There we go. So bullet cover axis is some old thing. I'm just going to dump it. We don't need that. We've got axis dust cover that I've added this morning. When you go view left, well, you can't really see it, so let's just go Control A and hide in LOD 1, and let's just get the dust cover, Control Shift H, That's our dust cover. It flips up when it closes. Let's check the memory, and you'll see my dust cover axis is right in the center. I mean, that basically I made that by grabbing just these points, and then well, there's actually a different piece in the. If I do that, yeah, there's a piece here. There, I just grabbed that and took it into memory LOD, and then used Shift H and whatever to get, well, no, D, and then Shift D. D first of all to get rid of all the faces to just points, and then Shift D on each side to give me one vertex, and then I just use those to make my axis. I've done that in other tutorials. So anyway, we're checking these things. So what's next? We've got charging handle axis, view, front. Yeah, the charging handle axis is in, but we never use it because we don't have an animation for it. Eye point, is the eye point lined up? View, left, Control Shift H, star to zoom in. No, it is not lined up, look at that. So what we need to do here is just go in free movement, drag it down. Oh, actually, no, hold on a minute. Yeah, okay, so we want it in the center of this circle. So how do we do that? Right, pick the point selector and grab all of these points. It's important you get every single one in the circle. So this one and this one and this one. That's a circle. Copy that circle, go into memory, paste it, press D to get rid of the faces. Now press Shift D, and that's now in the center of the circle. And you can see here our eye point is way off. So I'm going to bring that back, press star, zoom in, move that over there. That's our eye point moving on top of the center we just made. Oh, it's gone. So you see you can only do it, there we go, that's fine. Now hide it, Control hide, and delete the old one because we don't need it. Right, bring it back again, and we've got a nice eye point. Now, notice that the front piece is not connected. It's not showing up. It's not lined up in the center. So our weapon is tilted forwards, which means that the sighting post, which is this piece here, no. Yeah, there we go. So the sighting post needs to be halfway up the rear sight aperture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab everything, Control A, and I'm going to click rotate, apply to all LODs, and I'm going to call it 0.2 in the Z axis and see what happens. It goes down, it's going the wrong way. So we go minus 0.2. Yep, not bad. Minus 0.25 maybe. Minus 0.3. 0.3 degrees is quite a lot of rotation. It looks good though. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's just take it down a tiny bit. 0.28. Because I don't want it to be masking the target. There we go. 2.8's about right. So we're going to say, okay, that's fine. View, front. So that weapon is now lined up correctly. But what we've now done, of course, is we've now offset all of our lovely axes. They've all tilted upwards. So things like our barrel axis is now going to be tilted, and all our proxies are going to be tilted. So what I would tend to do in this situation is I would take the proxies and I would rotate them back. I would not apply to all LODs, take the negative sign off of that, and I would rotate them back. Now we have to go back, and because I've had to do that test, what I'm going to do is just quickly check that the proxies line up again. So view, left, star, and you'll see that the muzzle flash is now slightly out of alignment. So I'm going to move it up. There we go, it's in alignment. It's already in vertical, horizontal alignment. That's completely fine. View, front. Okay, now I'm going to go and basically do the same thing I did earlier with the top one. So copy, paste, top two, rename to a leatherwood scope by pressing the down arrow. because it's one I browsed to earlier. Now I'm going to do view, show proxy objects. It always does this with a bloody proxy. There we go. Alright, so is this centered? No, it isn't. See, it's way off now because of the rotation. So now I'm going to lock the X and Y axis, drag it into position. Yeah, that's centered. And we already know that it's centered on the other axis, so that's fine. So what I do now is rename that one, steal its name, rename this one, and okay. So now top number 1 needs to go, delete. Top number 2 needs its index changing back to 1. We've now got our muzzle flash and scope proxies done. What I will do actually is I'm just going to delete, because we don't even need view pilot yet until we've completely finished working on the first gun. So shadow volume is fine. This is now out of position. Paste and delete, and just right click and delete empty. That gets rid of all the unwanted stuff. Let's just grab that because we know it's right. Go to geometry, delete empty and paste. Then go to memory. Now the memory LOD, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to rotate the memory LOD back to where it should be, and then I'm going to hide it all again, and I'm going to check barrel axis. And this is why you should always check your rotation of your weapon is exactly how you want it before you start work on this stuff. So view left, we can't see anything, so let's take the muzzle flash because we know that's centered, copy it into the memory LOD, paste, click barrel axis and star to center on it, and you can see it's out of whack. So let's hit the lock the YZ axis going up, star again, zoom in. Yeah, that's close enough. So now I'm going to delete the muzzle flash, delete empty, gone. Okay, so that's now lined up again, view, front. So all our axes are going to be slightly off, but they're generally okay, so they'll work because it's only 0.28 degrees. It won't really show on a lot of things. It will show if you're shooting 800 meters with a bullet. Obviously that'll affect your accuracy. So bipod's fine, bolt axis is fine, bolt catch axis is fine, charging handle axis. The eye point, that's what we were working on. Let's just check that now. View, left, star, zoom in. Right, so our eye point is now way out, isn't it, from when it was before. So let's go YZ, YZ, star again, zoom in, moving down, and we want to go left until it lines up with the muzzle flash. There we go. That's now completely centered for the eye point. We know that one's okay, so view front. Let's have a look at the mag switch axis. That's, yeah, I'm pretty sure these are all okay, but let's just check. Home, no, what am I doing? Star, that's it. Right, so is my mag switch axis in the right place? Hide, mag switch, unhide, memory, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so next, magazine axis. Well, that's pretty, you know, there's a lot of room to maneuver in that one. I'm not worried about it. Shell eject, that'll be in the right place. Selector we should check. Selector, let's zoom in, go into LOD 1, selector. So it needs to circle around or pivot probably around this point, I'm not sure. Yep, and you can see our selector axis is slightly off, so I've just moved it back into the center. There we go. Happy days. That's the selector. Trigger axis. Right, let's check the trigger. Let's bring the trigger in. Memory. I mean, it's kind of alright. That's a pivot point. I might put that up a little bit just because we don't want it to. If it's too high, it'll clip and you'll see the top of the trigger come out of the frame. If it's too low, I don't know. Let's just put it about in the middle, somewhere like that. And then whatever Zasly point is, I don't know. I don't think we're using that, so I'm just going to delete it. Okay, so that's tidied up the memory LOD on the XM177. Geometry, that's rubbish, isn't it? So let's have a look. How can we make a nice geometry for this? So, okay, let's do some geometry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a barrel, and then I'm going to make a magazine block, and then I'll make a handle block, or an upper receiver block with a handle, and then a butt block. So if we go into, so first of all, let's get rid of the things we don't want to see. So we don't want to see the sling, we're not bothered about that. I'm not actually bothered about that piece, or that piece. Okay, that's basically the basic weapon. Let's get rid of those. That is our weapon. Okay, so now if I go into geometry, so this is the old geometry we had. Right, let's get rid of that proxy, so that's hidden. So we're left with one block here. Look, now that's rubbish. So first of all, I'm going to delete the component name because we're not going to need that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do create cylinder, and I want maybe eight segments in the radius. That's a pretty rough cylinder, but it doesn't matter because it's only geometry. And a radius of about 0.05, so 5 centimeters. That's probably too high, 2 centimeters. Okay, and then length is not going to be a meter, it's going to be about 10 centimeters. And how many segments do we want? I'm going to put in 2 because I'm going to basically model this piece and then I'm going to model this piece. So, okay. Now it's thrown the wrong way, so we rotate it 90 degrees. Get rid of the old value there. Right, okay. So let's pop that over here. Press start to zoom in. So you can see it's a bit of a funny shape. It isn't quite what we're looking for in terms of the size, so I'm going to do Shift and Alt. Is it Shift and Alt? No. Control Z. Shift and Control. There we go. And now I'm going to scale that down to fit my barrel. Lock the X-axis, slide it along. There we go. Now I'm going to grab the vertices. I'm going to slide them to the left, to there, okay. Just move over a little bit. And then I'm going to take these and slide these over to here. And what I'm going to do with this piece, if I can, is just scale that down. There we go. I mean, you don't really need to be that on the ball with this sort of stuff. Now what I'm going to just do is I'm going to just save it, because it might crash the game when you do this, and I'm going to go structure, topology, no, convexity, find non-convexities, just to check that's convex. Yes, it is. So that's our barrel done. Now I'm going to repeat that job here, and I'm going to make a cylinder for the forestock. So create cylinder. So this time we just want a basic cylinder, so we only want one segment. It's about 0.1 in radius, in length, it's about 0.3. Radius is about 0.1, and again I think we'd be happy with 8 segments because we want to keep it as simple as possible. Rotate 90, massive, isn't it? Oh dear, right, my calculations are a bit off today. Haven't had enough tea. Right, start, line up the centres first of all. Then we can tell I'm holding Control, Shift and right mouse button to scale the object, but it scales it in all 3 dimensions at the same time. Not really bothered about that, because once I've got that lined up, I now just drag the vertices, and with X locked, I'm just going to take it across, and that's the next piece done. Okay, and that's convex because we use these ways of calculating things. So now for the upper receiver, I'm just going to do create box, and I'm going to say 0.1 by 0.1 by 0.1. So it's 10 centimeters on a side box, right? And we're just going to put basic box in here, and I'm going to take the vertex and put it there, and this vertex and put it there. That's about all I need for this at the moment, although to be honest I could do that. Yeah, that's probably better. And then let's just view it from the top, and you'll see, oh yeah, it's, hang on, let's get rid of this. Let's just hide that one because we don't really need to see that. In fact, let's just delete that one. So this, you can now see from the top, is in the wrong shape. So I'm going to lock YZ, bring that down to cover every part of the weapon, and the same here, lock YZ, bring it in, and that's our receiver done. View front. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another one, so create box, and this one is going to be 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. This is going to be our magazine. Okay, so let's line that up, press star to zoom in. Now we're going to take these two, lock the x-axis, drag across, get the bottom one, lock the y-axis, drag down, this one drag up, and that's our magazine. So let's go view top. Our magazine is very, very wide, so we're going to grab that, lock YZ, bring it down to the width of the magazine. Now we can't really see the magazine, so what I'm going to do here is Control A, hide, magazine, Control Shift unhide, and that's Control Shift H. Memory, geometry, there we go. Oh look, that was I've obviously done this before because that was pretty good. There we go. So that's the magazine. View front. Now what we need to do is we need to grab that and do new magazine. There we go. So make sure it's got the selection name, so when the magazine gets taken out, the geometry gets taken out. Okay, Control A. Let's view this again. So we've got the handle to do now. Geometry, let's make a handle. So, well, what we can do is copy and paste the magazine, drag it across, grab the original magazine, just right click and redefine, so this isn't called magazine anymore, and this is now our handle. Rotate it, stick that there, and I'm actually going to just put it across because it doesn't really matter about the sizing, but we want to make sure we've got all the parts of the gun covered, so that'll probably do. Let's just bring that to there. There we go. That's a bit of basic geometry. What we might want to do is just check the handle is actually not too wide or anything. Very hard to do actually because my receiver's one piece, so alright, forget that. Right, let's do the buttstock. So for the buttstock, I'm just going to copy this piece and paste it, and there we go. And let's grab the vertices, drag it to there, drag that one to there, get this one, and we've got to cover all of the pieces, so star, and that zooms in on the vertex. Perfect. So that's much better than what we had before, isn't it? Before we had like just a solid block. Now we've got all of these pieces. Now I'm just going to add some weight to it, call it 8 kilos or something. Sorted. We've only got one selection we need to worry about, that's magazine. Now I'm just going to do a quick check, so structure, convexity, find non-convexities, and then drag with the right mouse. If anything moves, you can Control Z to undo it, but you'll know you've got a non-convexity in there. So that geometry, is it closed? So structure, topology, find non-closed, And if you drag now, you'll find there is something moving. Oh, look, Control Z. That is your proxy. Don't worry about the proxy. Don't close it. That would be a bit fatal. You'd have to go and paste it in from somewhere else. Okay, so that's our geometry done. Shadow volume is looking good already, and here you just have to check structure, topology, find non-closed. Again, it's just the only thing that lights up is the proxy. Control Z to undo. That's fine. If any of this lights up, you've got problems. And then what you can do is, obviously, you just grab everything apart from the proxy and make sure structure, triangulate, and surfaces, sharp edge. So our shadow's looking good, our geometry's looking good, and I mean, I could put in a little triangle there for that piece just to be completist about it, but I don't really care. Oh, last thing, structure, topology, find components, because if you don't add your components, the geometry won't work. And we are done.